If you're running Google Ads right now, the chances are that you're wasting between 30 and 50% of your entire Google Ads budget and you don't even know it. Inefficient campaign structures, broad match targeting, and the wrong campaign settings are killing your sales, killing your returns, and burning through your advertising budget. We've identified and recovered over 6 million in wasted advertising spend on behalf of our clients, and then more recently on behalf of our YouTube subscribers. And so in today's video, what I want to do is break down the top 5 areas where your campaigns are wasting budget, leading to inefficiencies, which are killing your ROAS, killing your returns, and ultimately leading to inefficient campaigns and poor performance. Now, if you don't know me, my name's William. I'm the founder of Touchpoint PPC. We are specialists in search, shopping, performance match, and YouTube ads, specifically for e-commerce brands. Over the last 5 years, we've generated over 700,000 sales on behalf of our clients and made them over 80 million in revenue from our ads. And more recently, I've taken to YouTube to help businesses to get better performance out of their campaigns and to ultimately succeed with Google Ads. So if you would like a completely free Google Ads audit, then hit that first link in the description. It will take you through to a calendar link where you'll be able to book some time with myself, and we'll take a little look at your ads and show you how you can be getting better performance out of them. So if you're looking to increase your ROAS, we'll show you everything that we know to help you increase your ROAS from your campaigns. If you're trying to improve the performance of your campaigns from a revenue perspective or a growth perspective, we can look into that as well. So if you are interested, go ahead and schedule some time below. If not, let's jump straight into the video. Anything you don't track, you can't optimize. This is the single biggest drain on advertising budgets that I see. We've personally seen brands waste tens of thousands of pounds on inaccurate conversion tracking if it's not set up correctly. Sometimes there are no conversions firing at all, meaning that Google Ads is going to chase vanity metrics like impressions and clicks instead of conversions. And then other times you find that Google Ads is actually duplicating conversions, meaning that for every 1 conversion you get, you're actually getting 2 on Google Ads. So this is just inflating your ROAS and giving you a false impression that your ads are doing better than they are. We also see brands tracking the wrong metrics as primary conversions. So they might have set up add to carts or initiate checkouts as a primary conversion method. So Google's actually optimizing for add to carts and initiate checkouts rather than purchases, which is what you're looking for. Or tracking is completely broken, so you're not triggering the purchase event on sales on your website, and you essentially have no visibility over where those sales are coming from. And when Google, Shopify, and Google Analytics 4 don't match up, you end up with mismatched data, which makes it really hard to understand what's working and what's not, and what platform is actually attributing sales correctly. So to fix this, you basically need to set up conversion tracking in GA4 and then in Shopify in the Google and YouTube app. If you set up accurate conversion tracking and run a couple of dummy purchases, I've got a separate video on this, which I will leave in the description below. But by doing that, you'll be able to see where your sales are coming from and you'll be able to optimize your campaigns for better performance. So next up is broad match targeting, and quite possibly one of the worst ways to burn through advertising budget if you don't know what you're doing. So by default, Google pushes you to use broad match targeting, and on paper it sounds great, you know, reach more customers, right? Like everyone wants to do that, but in reality it leads to a lot of waste through irrelevant search terms coming up and you paying for and essentially advertising on search terms that are never going to lead to a purchase for you. And we've seen accounts where they're selling high-end furniture, for instance, and they're showing up for things like DIY sofa plans. Or another example could be a high-end jewelry business showing up for cheap children's beads, right? None of these are going to lead to sales, and they're ultimately a waste on advertising spend. So the simple fix to this is to essentially avoid running broad match if you've never ran campaigns before, or even if you have ran campaigns before, to be completely honest with you. Go for things like phrase and exact match, where you can control your search terms more accurately, and then spend some time going in your search terms every week, every couple of days, and essentially ripping out and adding negatives to all of those irrelevant search terms that you don't think will lead to a conversion. So they might not have any purchase intent, or it might just be someone looking for a specific make and model that you don't sell. All of that is wasted spend. So make sure that you're keeping a very close eye on those search terms, and you will stop wasted spend on broad match targeting. So following on from broad match targeting, number 3 is actually not managing your search terms. And we're going to touch on this just slightly because it's very, very, very important. So your search term report shows you exactly what people are typing in before they click on your ad. It's like a window into where your budget is actually going. Problem is that most advertisers never look at their search term report, and so they end up paying for clicks that will never convert. I've seen jewelry brands show up for terms like cheap costume jewelry when they're a high-end jewelry brand, which is obviously not going to lead to a conversion, so anyone clicking on that ad is a complete waste of spend. So the fix for this is actually very simple. As I mentioned, you need to go into your search term reports and then look at all of those search terms one by one, and I would filter them by spend, so you're only filtering the ones that have actually spent money for you, so you're not going through thousands and thousands. And I would essentially click on all of the ones that don't look like they're going to lead to a purchase, that don't represent what your business does or who you sell to, or you don't feel like they've got any commercial intent behind them, and essentially add them as a negative, build out a strong negative list, and stop promoting your ads on keywords and search terms that aren't going to sell for you. And number 4, which I'm sure by now if you've watched this channel for a while, you know this is my favorite, which is stop advertising products that don't sell. So I see brands all the time continuing to advertise products that don't sell, and this just leads to thousands and thousands of pounds worth of waste and inefficiencies. Not only does it lead to a ton of waste, but it drags down the performance of your campaigns, and not only is that spend wasted, but the opportunity cost of losing that much money that could be reinvested into your winners is huge. So a classic example I see all the time is fashion brands where they've got like a ton of SKUs online, and let's say for example they've got like 200, 300 SKUs online, right? And only 50 of those are selling, but they are advertising all of those 200 to 300 products consistently every single month, even though only a small portion of their inventory is actually selling for them. And the fix to this, again, super simple to fix. Basically just go through your products, look at your product report on your Google account, and go through your product report and essentially identify any that have high spend and no sales, or high spend and one sale, and eliminate them. So go through them one by one and eliminate those products, stop advertising them, and you can even set up a bestseller campaign. But if you've got a small budget or medium-sized budget, you might be better off just to strip those out, and if you want to continue to promote them, you can, but just use a very small budget so your winners can win. And number 5 is an over-reliance on brand. Now, on paper, it can make your performance look amazing. You know, low CPCs, really high returns, your ROAS looks great. But in reality, a lot of those customers would have probably visited your website and bought your products anyway. You didn't need to show them an ad. Now, we've seen e-commerce brands showing a 10 times return on advertising spend in their Performance Max campaigns, but the Insights tab is just full of branded terms. And so we then sort of take that campaign, remove and exclude the branded terms, and before you know it, that campaign is actually not performing anywhere near as well. It's not hitting benchmark KPIs, and the reason being is because it's just mopping up all that branded traffic, inflating the ROAS and showing you a great on paper ROAS, but actually your new customers aren't climbing. It gives a very false sense of security and a false sense of performance, and can lead you feeling like your ad account is in better health than it actually is. So if you've ever tried to increase your ad budget and your campaigns just immediately plateau and fatigue, and your CPA goes up, that's a telltale sign that you're advertising quite heavily on brand, and so outside of brand you're struggling to get conversions. So again, the fix for this is pretty easy. You want to separate your branded campaigns from your non-branded campaigns, so you can essentially begin scaling your non-branded traffic and reducing the amount of spend that you're spending on your branded traffic just enough so all of those customers come back and purchase from you, but the majority of your budget is spent on new acquisition, new customer growth, which is where your business is going to see those gains. So number 6 is PMAX placement control. So by design, Performance Max will spread your budget across shopping, search, display, and YouTube ads. But the problem is that between display and YouTube, you will find, if you use a tool I'm about to mention, that a lot of your budget is being wasted on display and YouTube. It's not actually leading to too many conversions for your business. And the easiest way to check this is to basically use Mike Rhodes's Performance Max script, So basically you can download Mike Brode's Performance Max script. I think it's completely for free. We paid for it, but I'm sure it's completely for free. And essentially what you can then do is you can connect this to your Google Ads account and you'll be able to download his free data, which will show you where your Performance Max campaigns are actually spending across those different products. So you can see the spend placement between, search and shopping and discovery and YouTube. And if you're finding that, let's say 20-30% of your budget is being spent on those inefficient placements, display and YouTube, you can then go ahead and start thinking about, do I want to run just shopping campaigns which just focus on the shopping network, because that's where the majority of our sales are actually coming from, rather than wasting money on display and wasting money on YouTube when they're not actually leading to conversions for our business. Maybe we've not got the assets for them. YouTube requires some really strong assets, and so if you've not got those, maybe it's best to collect those before you start running YouTube placements. And in fact, when we reviewed the top performing PMAX campaigns for our agency Touchpoint PPC, we found that those top performing PMAX campaigns were spending the majority of their budget on shopping anyway. And so you really want to be favoring the shopping and search network. And if you are spending 20% of your budget on display and YouTube, you really need to think about whether that's worthwhile for your business, and maybe launch a separate shopping campaign just to see how the performance looks against your Performance Max campaigns that you're running at the moment. And I'll leave a link in the description for the Mike Brode's script so you can check it out for yourself. And number 7, which I mentioned in a previous video, in fact I think it was my last video, is location targeting settings. By default, Google sets your location settings to people in or recently interested in your target location. Now, if you advertise in the UK and someone that lives in the US was interested in purchasing your products but physically couldn't because they live in the US and you only supply and deliver to the UK, then you advertising for those clicks is completely pointless, a complete waste of budget. And we've seen this quite a lot with e-commerce brands where they're advertising in the UK, still getting clicks from places like India just because people are interested in the specific product that we sell. But we can't supply them the product anyway, so we need to avoid paying for those clicks. To fix this, again, very, very simple. Go into your campaign settings and choose the people in or regularly in your target location. And also you can go into your location settings as well. Number 8 is device targeting issues. So a lot of advertisers don't check this, but you can essentially look at your performance across tablets, mobile devices, desktop devices, and you want to be looking for any anomalies. You want to be looking for, a really high CPA, a really cost per purchase on, let's say, tablets, for instance, which is, to be honest with you, you see that a lot. You see most of your conversions coming from desktop and mobile. You tend to see a higher CPA from your tablet conversions. And so if you do see that and you see a lot of budgets being wasted on tablets and you're not getting anything back in return, and you want to essentially reduce your bids on tablets so you're not advertising them as heavily. Now, we've seen this a lot recently, especially with those more considered purchases, and we find that the mobile device is actually or has a much higher cost per purchase than desktop, but you're actually spending, somewhat 50-50 across the two. And so you might want to start favoring those desktop conversions over those mobile conversions if they're more likely to lead to a lower cost per purchase, which will increase your ROAS and ultimately get better performance out of your ads. So the fix, again, very, very simple. Go into your device settings, and if desktop is massively outperforming, mobile or tablet is underperforming, as I mentioned, then go ahead and reduce the bids on those or stop advertising them completely, and your performance should improve. Number 9, and this is worth mentioning because it happens all too frequently, and we've been guilty of it in the past, and it's changing your ad account too frequently, making too many changes inside your campaigns. So this is one of the most common mistakes that we see, especially with small advertisers or new advertisers, where they will make some big changes, leave it for 3 or 4 days, and then they'll panic because their cost per purchase has gone up or their sales have stopped, and they'll just completely scrap it, change strategy, launch a new campaign. And this is just not what you should be doing. It will reset the learnings, it will reset all of your performance improvements that you've made, and ultimately lead to a sort of kangaroo type campaign and an account whereby you're sort of like constantly going through this period of learning. So to fix this, really, you need to fix your own emotions when it comes to Google Ads, right? You need to give more time to those campaigns, believe in the changes that you've made, and rely on the actual data to make the decisions for you instead of panicking because you've not had a purchase for 3 or 4 hours and completely changing the strategy. And finally, number 10 is high cost locations. We need to be pausing those high cost locations. So even if your targeting is set up correctly and you're targeting the entirety of the UK, let's say for instance, if you look at those location settings and the breakdown of sort of where your sales have come from, the different cities and the different towns, you will see massive discrepancies between cost per purchase and revenue coming from specific cities and specific towns. If you live in America, this is going to be states, and you can start excluding some of those states and cities and towns that are not driving performance for your campaigns. They might have, double the cost per purchase the other cities have, or the other towns or the other locations. And so you want to make sure that you're pausing those and essentially ripping out those locations that aren't driving sales for your business. So to fix this, you want to go into your Google Ads location report, look at those different towns and cities and identify the ones that have a high CPA, a high cost per purchase, and begin thinking about whether you should be excluding those. Now, what I will say is you need a lot of data to be able to make a really informed decision as to whether that's the right thing to do or not. Don't just go off 1 or 2 purchases. This is normally done in more mature accounts where you can really see the difference between cities and towns and states. So those are the 10 biggest areas where we see Google Ads accounts, especially e-commerce brands, wasting money, and the exact fixes that you can make right now to improve those campaigns, to get better performance, to lower your cost per purchase, to increase your ROAS. And if you want us to take a deeper look at your Google Ads account and show you how you could be getting much better performance out of those Google Ads, increase your revenue or increase your ROAS or lower your cost per purchase, we will do all of this for you. Everything that I'm teaching you and have been teaching you over the last couple of months, we will pack inside a completely free personalized audit for you, which will be 7 to 10 pages long, done by Abby, our head of PPC. It takes us a couple of hours. So if you are spending over $4,000 a month on Google Ads right now and you're not happy with the performance of them, hit that first link in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.